Welcome to livingpianos.com. Today's such an important show to embrace the process and dramatically improve your piano playing. What are we talking about here? Well, I'm going to break it down to essential elements: reading music, learning music, refining music, and developing your technique. And each one of these, if you embrace the process, you can soar in the quality of your playing in a very short amount of time. Now, here's the problem. You sit down to practice or to play something, and you just are impatient. You want it all now. And so the temptation is to try to skip all the steps involved, thinking that you'll get there faster. And it's quite the opposite, as I'm going to show you today. Let's start with reading. You want to develop your reading so you can enjoy sitting down and playing music at sight. Music you've never played before, you want to be able to instantly be able to play it. And what a joy that is. And you see people who do this, and you think, I should be able to do it. So you take out your favorite Chopin piece or Debussy or whatever it happens to be, Beethoven, and you struggle and struggle, and you don't get the enjoyment, and it's all deflating. It makes you think you just can't do it, and you just put it away, and you feel dejected. Well, here's the secret. The good news is, while there's such great music on the piano, and some of it is extremely complex, but there's great music that's on a simpler level that you can enjoy right now. And if you start playing music on your level, you will build up gradually. Reading regularly, music you can play perfectly, but even if it's under tempo, but something you can get the satisfaction of playing well. Do that every day and your reading will grow. Try to read with other musicians. Great way to develop your reading. And eventually, yes, you'll be able to read the pieces you've always wanted to read. You'll develop that fluency, but start realistically at the level you can read. And don't feel that it's beneath you to do something like that, or don't feel that you're not going to gain anything by doing music that's simpler. You absolutely will gain if you play well. That is the secret to developing your reading. Now, what about learning music? You know, it's much the same idea here, choosing music that you're not going to have to take 6 months to a year to learn, when you could learn dozens of pieces in the same amount of time, incrementally increasing the level of difficulty and the command you have over your music. Going along with this, when you sit down to practice each day, you see a whole piece of music and several pages, and you think, oh my gosh, I better go and learn as much of this as I can. So you start working on the first page as much as you can, going through it again and again, not realizing that that's far too much information to be able to absorb at a time. And you're actually developing bad habits by playing again and again and again music not in the way you want it to sound, thinking that later you can make it sound better. That's a big fallacy. Instead, just take tiny chunks of music. If any of you watched me practice, you would be astounded at the tiny sections of music. I break things down to digestible little chunks, hands separate, putting them together, working through methodically. And I resist the temptation of just reading through a piece again and again and again when it's not being played the way I want it to ultimately sound. So I only read through the piece the first day only. Then I get right down to work, and that's exactly what you should do. Don't feel that just because you've learned only 4 measures in a practice session that you've wasted your time. Take a look through your music, and you'll be astounded at how much repetition there is. Repetition and development are the bedrocks of music composition. So by learning thoroughly, you're able to continue to let the story unfold. Just like if you were learning a story, one thing leads to the next. So you learn one little section, you see the logic of that section, you perfect that section, go on to the next section, connect them, and each day you learn a bit more and go back and reinforce what you've done the previous day instead of tackling way more than you could possibly digest in a sitting. Try it out for yourself. I guarantee you, do it for a week, resisting the temptation of just reading through everything. Just limit yourself to very small amounts of music and you will grow tremendously. Now, what about refinement? Now, this is another area. You might feel that, oh my gosh, I've got all this music, I've got to get on a higher level. So you kind of go through everything thinking, I better cover everything so that I don't forget it. Well, if you want to go through everything and you've already learned the music, but it's just not the level you want, go through slower than you think you need to go. Because anything that you play wrong, you're going to have to undo later. So very slow, but better yet, just once again, now you don't have to concentrate maybe in 2 or 4 measure phrases, but take a digestible chunk of music to work on refinement. You might find, for example, the first few lines of your piece, you can play pretty well, but then you get to the 4th or 5th line and there's a 4 measure phrase that just isn't happening. With laser focus, just practice those 4 measures. Take out your trusty metronome, find a speed at which you can play it absolutely perfectly and with confidence. Once you do that, you turn it up 1 notch at a time. You won't even feel it. You'll get those 4 measures up to speed, connect them with the previous part, and then go to the next part of the piece that isn't quite up to snuff. By zeroing in and not working, scattershot on everything equally and putting 90% of your focus on 10% of the music that needs it, you will soar in the quality and the productivity of your practice. These are great techniques for you. Now, what about, speaking of technique, what about working on pure technique? Now, working on technique, for example, scales and arpeggios, you might think, oh, I hate doing that. I don't want to spend hours with that. The good news is you don't have to. You can just spend a few minutes and maybe you know some of your scales or you've played your scales or arpeggios in the past, but they're rusty or you just haven't done all of them and you feel overwhelmed by the whole thing. It's easy to do. After all, there are 12 major keys, there's 12 minor keys, there's harmonic minor, melodic minors, arpeggios. It's like, oh my gosh, how can you do everything? Well, once again, don't feel overwhelmed. Just concentrate on one scale for a week. What's the hurry? You've got a lifetime to develop your playing. And that's really the whole point of this video, is to show you that the process, if you embrace the process, don't feel hurried. Don't feel like you have to accomplish everything every day you practice. Just focus in on one little bit. Because when you bring a really high level of playing to a very small amount of music, it translates to other music you play. You will gain the insights of how to master music and the feeling of that comfort level you get when you're really on top of a scale or your music or your reading or you're learning. Take a little bit at a time, build day by day. Don't feel overwhelmed that you have to do everything all the time. Focus in on what needs to work most, and you'll see your playing taken to a level you never have imagined before. I'm Robert Estrin. This is livingpianos.com, your online piano resource, and you can check out in the description if you're interested in a personal consultation with me. Great to have you. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.